Hey folks, Keough here with a new training video for you. I haven't been doing too many of these recently, and the reason for that is because I'm going through a deload week right now, which is going to end with a deadlift session on Friday. And so what you're going to see here is you're going to see training footage from 3 separate days. A light bench press session on Sunday, which you're seeing right now. I did 230 for 4 sets of 3. And for at least a couple of those sets, I brought my feet up, and the reason for that was just because I couldn't get, the floor was slippery and I couldn't get good footing on it, so I just decided I'd bench with my feet up. So 230 for 4 sets of 3, then I did a long set with 135 for some added volume, and then I did 5 sets of 3 with 295 on squat. Really just worked on my eccentric, and tried to keep the bar steady and just tried to feel good squatting with the weight, so that went just fine. Rest intervals on those was, I think, somewhere around 4 or 5 minutes, so I didn't take a lot of time between them. Actually, it might have even been shorter than that. I just kind of ran right through them. Then on Tuesday, I went in and did some reverse band squatting. Again, deloaded, but I brought the exertion up just a little bit. I did a set of 5, I think, with 365, set of 5 with 405. I don't have those filmed. And then did one long set of 10 with 425. Left a few reps in the tank, but worked pretty hard at it. And then a set of 8 with 435, and was really just starting to fatigue. My legs were getting pretty tired at that point. So got in some quality work without overexerting myself or doing a lot of high-intensity squatting. My goal for this week was to do a lot of lower intensity work simply because I've been doing a lot of heavy overloaded squat training, and so I really wanted to get away from that and just get in some reps without killing myself with the intensity. And you're also going to see some footage from today. Did a long touch and go set with 225, did it for 19 reps, which is personal best for me by 2 reps. And then did a couple of sets paused with a normal grip, and then did a bunch of reps, just a few long sets with 135 on floor press, just to try and continue to get more work without overly taxing myself coming into this last training cycle. So basically that's what I've done this week. Feel pretty good coming out of the deload now, so I feel like I'm going to get out of this deload and do quite well coming into this last training cycle. It's been unusual as a training cycle for me because the first half of it, I'd say, the first 6 to 8 weeks was tremendously bad. I really just performed poorly, wasn't consistent with my strength, wasn't really hitting good numbers, and at some point had to basically take a week off and reassess things and bring down the volume a little bit and change my style of training. And I think what I've learned from this training cycle that I will try to implement in the future is a proper use of phases in my training. And up until very recently, I haven't really needed to employ phases, what I'll call phases in my training. Phases just refers to different distinct mesocycles in which volume, intensity, frequency, and exertion are set in relation to your proximity to a competition, whether that's in powerlifting or outside of powerlifting. So this is phase training would be employed by block periodization. It's usually an approach in powerlifting terms in which you start by doing a lot of general physical preparedness early on in a training cycle. The intensity stays down, the volume comes up, the frequency is up, and then as you get closer to that training cycle, you start to do more general specific training. So you maybe stop working so much on your weaknesses and you start doing the main movements a little bit more often, and you start increasing the intensity and decreasing the volume. And then as you near your competition, you start doing more sport-specific training. So you drop a lot of the variations, you drop a lot of the weakness training that you're doing, you focus on the core lifts, and you do accessory work that that maintains strength level in smaller movements and also keeps you healthy, but isn't at that point designed to build or develop weaknesses. It's just to sort of maintain so that you're able to put everything you can into the main movements. And so it's an approach to training that I sort of inadvertently adopted this training cycle because the first half was so bad. For the vast majority of this year, I've been doing a lot of what I'd call base training. I've been doing a lot of lighter intensity, higher repetition work. I've been doing a lot of sub-9 RPE sets, sets of an RPE 8 or below. An RPE 8 would just be a set in which you leave 2 reps left in the tank upon completing the set. So I've been doing a lot of work like that, and that work is certainly fantastic for building a base early in a training cycle. But I think early in this year, when I had success with my training my unwrapped squat and getting it to transfer over on high volume programming, I think I get kind of caught up in thinking that I could measure where my wrap squat was based on my unwrapped squat rep maxes, and I felt like if I were hitting unwrapped squat rep maxes that were consistent with what I did when I did 520, then it would translate over, the training would translate over to my wrap squat. And unfortunately, I think for too long a period of time, I just wasn't getting enough high intensity work, I think was really the issue. And the problem there is not that I was doing 30 or 40 or 50 bar lifts with a lighter intensity range and like a sub-9 RPE workload. That wasn't really the issue. The issue was that I was doing it all the time. I was doing it month after month after month. That's how I prepare for my that's basically how I prepared for my July meet. I had a few weeks in which I did some heavy wrap squats, and I was happy with the numbers, so I felt like everything was fine. But in all honesty, I have to, at a more regular rate, do more high-intensity work, particularly for my squat. That's the lift where I have to do it. My bench press has been fine. I think that the intensity ranges that I've been using on my bench press have worked just fine. My deadlift has certainly been fine. Increasing the volume really assisted my deadlift, but the squat has been the issue. The squat and how I've been training the squat has really been an issue for the majority of this year. So I'm trying to learn from that now. Obviously, I'm doing more higher intensity and higher exertion training at the moment, because if you follow my squat training, I'm working closer to failure on a lot of these sets. I'm not doing as many reps or as many sets over the course of the week, but I'm constantly setting rep maxes. I'm also pretty consistently working in a higher intensity range, and that's because I'm closer to a meet. I'm trying to do a lot of overloaded training, like reverse training, in order to prepare myself for squatting, at least 500 pounds at this next meet, which would be fantastic if I were able to do it. And I really do think like I don't know if that's going to turn out to be the answer, but I think that that's the first step towards discovering an answer. First step is trying to train more in phases. And the problem with phase training is, the problem with block periodization in general for me is I have this sort of mental hang-up when it comes to training on faith. And when you use a block periodization approach, when you train in distinct phases, you have to train on faith, because you're going to have training cycles that are going to feel easy. You're going to have periods where you're going to deload. And in the back of your head, you're constantly going to be thinking to yourself, which is what happens to me, I should be doing more. Is this going to make me weaker? And so you have to train on a certain amount of faith. I've never been good about that. I always feel anxious that I'm not doing enough work, and that I have to push it and push it and push it, and that I have to continue to hit good numbers. And I'm at a point in my training life where it's unreasonable to expect me to come in and hit rep PRs or to match rep PRs every single week. I need to have periods or phases in my training in which I allow myself to recover a little bit. I need to have periods or phases in my training in which I allow myself to detrain a little bit. And that's a new concept for me, but it's something I learned this training cycle because I had to deload, because I had to take a shorter, easier mesocycle. And coming off of that, I felt fantastic. So it really worked well. I just need to get over it, and I need to continue to be smart with my programming. I feel really good coming into this meet. Keep checking in, more videos soon.